Dr. Bob Wellman of the Christian Laity Foundation. The foundation was established by God to help people recover the awareness of their divine identity, which only when that happens can they ever abandon the belief in the realness of their human nature, which has a very savage basis and interferes with people being able to be personally healed or being positive, loving with other people. And it's our job to teach how to recover that nature and thereby have God help us abandon this human nature which can't be healed. And a crucial factor involved in that kind of healing is the issue of real and illusion. Is the human condition real, or is our belief in ourselves as bodies living in a world of material illusion? Which is it? It's not an easy topic because people believe what they see or what they hear or what they can touch or smell or taste. And this makes the belief that the body is real. And I too believed that the body was real. I remember even as a young person, I must have been around 7 or 8 years old, in worrying about death. And the fear of death was to me something that I didn't have a solution for, because I saw this as the only way of existing. And so I must have been, I suppose, somewhere around 7 or 8 years old, who knows. But my resolution for it at that time was, I thought that when I die, I'll have them place me between my mommy and my daddy. And so even if I'm in the coffin, I'm with them forever. And that solves that kind of a problem. Don't know if it solves it for them, but it solved it for me. Now, that's how wacky we can get over these kinds of issues about what's real and what's illusion. I, in later times, believed in reincarnation, that I would live over and over and over again in this bodily being, because that's all that I thought was real, this bodily being. And so I settled, okay, reincarnation helps me with that. And I came up with a theory that every time I'd come into the world, I'd make it a better place, because mom and dad are going to come in the world over and over again. At least I could help make it better and better for them. And went along. Never had an end point to it. Never did. Never had an end point to the feeling of when you hear that this world is going to end, and that it'll go poof and the sun's gone and the cosmic existence is over. Wait a minute. Even if I'm going to be somebody who will be looked upon throughout eternity as the person that was so helpful that I'd never be forgotten, wait a minute, if this world is over, who's going to remember anything? Unhappy. And so came the problem. The solution came in a very different way. I had gotten to the point in psychology of recognizing that psychology did not, and I was practicing psychologist, did not have answers of finality. That although it would talk about how to solve problems, it did not talk about where these problems came from in the first place and how to deal with that issue. Oh, psychology would say, well, your mother or your father dropped you on your head, and therefore bumps on the head, when you see them, cause you to lose hair, and that's why you're bald. All kinds of things can come out of the belief that things from this world affect you, and this is where problems come from. But the therapist that I went to, and I went to 3 very fine people, could not give me a way of ending these anxiety feelings that I was suffering from and the struggles with belief about the world. It just couldn't give it to me. Or they didn't give it to me for whatever reason they thought, and it remained a problem. And how was I going to deal with these anxieties about my self-doubts why am I self-doubtful? Well, your mother or father dropped you on the head. But that didn't seem to do it. And finally, what happened is that one night, as I was going to sleep, I suddenly had an experience in which I was taken out of this world. And two things occurred from it. I saw myself as a spirit being, and I saw the qualities of this other self when I came back. I was taken out of the world, and now I knew I didn't need my body. Didn't need that. I existed without the body. And the other aspect is that I saw that this world and myself as I was living in it was unloving. And that I had the feeling that we had to make a world that was loving, caring, sharing, giving of ourselves. And it wasn't that. And I began to live to try to make a world of that kind of nature. But I would not dared have gone into that area except that I now knew that there was another me that I could risk. I wasn't worried anymore about whether or not I could die and what would be the judgment of me. I felt of worth, and I knew that I now was an eternal being in the sense that I was not tied to my body. There was a loving quality about me. And so this started an entirely different kind of existence for myself. I now knew that I was an illusion. I was something that I made up because I saw the other me that was so loving. That other me appeared before God and had no fear whatsoever of God. That other being knew that there was a correctness about what it believed, and there was a courage that was given to me, and the ability to go to God to feel that other realness through prayer. That when my head would threaten me with the belief that it was real and that you really are threatened, either not liking yourself or not liking others, that I now had a solution. I could go to God, and God would show me the legitimacy or the illegitimacy of what I was feeling. And so what was real now became a God who was available to me for answers, and a me that was available to me who was loving and loved by God, and who could teach this without fear, without worry of being destroyed. It didn't make any difference to me because I knew, I had seen that there was this other existence which I loved, the experience of myself and the experience of God. And so anything that is not that is not of God, is an illusion. Anything that God wouldn't make is an illusion in terms of how God would see it. God would use the term, it's an illusion because I didn't make that. And only what I make is real. And if you want to believe in something unreal, go ahead and believe it. But you also have to hold on to the real, because I won't let you go from that realness. And so that realness dictates the fact that that stays and what you believe doesn't. And whatever you want to call it, a make-believe, playing in a sandbox, an illusion, a fantasy, a dream, you have your choice of words about this. But it is not the real if the real is me. And my realness cannot as A Course in Miracles says, cannot be threatened. And the unreal does not really exist except in some kind of a fantasy of yours which you're holding on to and which you're going to let go of because there's such fear and uneasiness associated with it, and the loss of pleasure and joy and peace and love. And you're going to let go of it. Well, anything which can be let go of and which doesn't exist is an illusion. What is real never changes. It's there. And that is that you are a spirit being made in the likeness and image of a loving God who is unconditionally forgiving of all the things that we do because it's just pure lostness and doesn't change the realness of you, even though it's such painful lives or seeming lives that we're living with wars and hatreds and starvation and all the kinds of things that are not of God but which we're choosing to believe in as though they're real. We will let go of them because they're painful. There's no joy, no self-worth, no self-confidence, no sense of a worthiness that belongs at the highest level. None of that doesn't exist. And finally, we get tired, and at that point, we're willing to look for another alternative, and we've given God the opportunity to come back into our lives with the realness of God's self and the realness of God's self as us. Can't do away with it. It's real. We can do away with the other stuff because when God shows the realness of myself to me, it's goodbye to the other stuff. No matter how many times it comes back and as my other stuff tries to make me believe in it, doesn't make any difference. God says, you're believing it again. And I go back, thank you, only want to see it the way you want me to see it. And the illusion fades. It goes. It's not there. But God's being, even though I can believe it's not there, is there because it keeps showing up and shows me that it wins out over anything and everything else. Is that helpful to you about realness and illusion? Does this give you a sense of how to look at it? Do you want to even ask God, look, what is real? Are you real, God? What is your real characteristic? Lord, am I real? What's real about me? What's illusion? Lord, help me to look at this world. Is this world real or is it illusion? And when God shows you the answers to these things, you'll know what's real and what's illusion, and you won't doubt it again. You'll be bothered by it, but you won't believe in it again because you know how to get over it. You go to God with it, and you know how to pray it. Thanks. This is a tough kind of an issue for people who come into this world. Everybody's troubled with it until finally they turn to God and they give God the opportunity to straighten their act out with it and to see what's real and what's illusion. Hope it's helpful. Bye-bye for now.